California.
Mike, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Mike.
Can you guys hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Should we try one more time?
Just start the intro.
Yeah.
Let's try. Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, you know him as someone who knows way more about technology, the one and only Pro GK Academy, Omar Zini, 99 World Cup winner, and getting ready to go to end her NCAA tournament bubble, Saskia Weber, and joining us today all the way from France at I think maybe 1 a.m. right now, Stade de Reims goalkeeper Phallon Tullis-Joyce making her triumphant return. What is up, Phallon?
Hi, thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here.
This is fun. Honestly, you're getting to see what's happening right now with me trying to learn new technology and trying to use new. Honestly, you couldn't have planned that any better. That actually just seemed like it was like a sketch that we planned out at the beginning right there with like my mute on and you guys being like we can't hear you, all that sort of a fun thing. I'm blaming it on Omar. I blame everything on Omar when it comes to tech because I just use his advice when it comes to things. Omar, how's that virtual background coming along for you?
It's not going to happen today. I mean, I don't want to disrespect anybody on here, but we always have a proper background for the guests that we have, and unfortunately today didn't have it. So I don't want you to feel like it's we didn't bring the goods out for you.
Oh, no, it's perfectly fine.
I like that you did that with your hands too. Like you're like the goods. Like please don't hurt me.
You gotta make sure.
You gotta make sure. Saskia, you excited for the trip?
I am. Sorry, I was playing with my snap camera and I had monkey ears and I was figuring out how to get that off. I still got to work on this technology stuff. I'm really excited for it, you guys. Like I said, the girls are ready. We have a lot of players coming back that we've, let heal properly from injury and little knocks and stuff like that. And we're ready to go. I
mean, honestly, it's going to be a wild time because I think, one of the craziest things obviously about it is the fact that you guys are going to be playing in that bubble. So it's almost going to be kind of like a tournament, kind of like not just like a regular tournament where you're playing home games and then away games, but kind of like almost like an old school like youth tournament type of feel where you're all like in one city, one location, for the entire duration. So
say that.
You don't want to say that.
No, I mean, like we were talking about before we went live, there are some strange things about it. Like, if Campbell wins their game, then we play Campbell and then we play Campbell on their home field. And, in a normal world and everything like that we play all our home games at UCLA and until the Final Four. And, that's strange. You're playing like one of the last seeded teams and they get home. They're at their home field. I'm not worried about it. I'm not making excuses. Nobody should make excuses. We've all had to deal with COVID. We've all had to deal with weird things. It's the team that deals with it best that is going to be triumphant at the end. And I have total confidence in that. I have total confidence in our team. It's not even a thought process. They just want to get on the field and get ready to kick some ass, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, speaking of confidence, I have total confidence in the OL Reigns future with the fact that Phallon Tullis-Joyce is actually going to be joining the NWSL OL Reign this summer after her amazing, incredible career in France. Kind of comes to an amazing conclusion with these last couple months of matches there. Phallon, last time we had you on the podcast was a couple years back, and you guys had recently gotten promoted from Ligue 2 to Ligue 1. Did I say that right? Did I do a decent enough job?
It's close. It's close enough.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, Ligue 1.
Ligue 1. And then obviously, you guys have stayed up and everything like that. So kind of, why don't you fill us in on your journey, since then and now with your move coming to NWSL?
Oh, for sure. I've been super grateful for my time here in Reims. We started in Division 2 actually when I first signed here. So I had those first 6 months in Division 2. And so it was cool just to see this team win all their games and then rise in Division 1. And then eventually I was able to have that starting position. And that's kind of where I met you guys last. I was after my first starting games in Division 1, where I was a fresh goalkeeper, fresh to the professional game, and I was definitely nervous. And then now it's been kind of a cool transition, especially with the team. We've grown as a team, where now we're in our second year and we've actually guaranteed our third year in Division 1. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the really cool things about that, just even kind of just seeing yourself, because like obviously, Omar, you weren't there, but when Susky and I first had Phallon on the show a while back, you could just tell that was kind of like, I not in a derogatory way, but you were like that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, kind of like new pro. You're like, this is so much fun. Like I'm playing professionally, and now you're just very much more of a mature veteran. You've been kind of through those wars and everything like that. It's just really awesome to see the maturation. And Omar and we actually had this conversation, not about yourself, but about other goalkeepers that we've had on the podcast before, when we kind of bring them back, just kind of seeing that maturation of somebody that's kind of, been kind of going through the professional ranks already.
Yeah, and I think,
Omar,
again, we've had those conversations. Yeah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think we've obviously, when you grow up playing and you are a new face to a new team, and you kind of step in and you obviously get the goalkeeper coach working you a little bit more after practice, and then you kind of being more familiar with the team and everyone's name. I think now understanding being in that position as a player and now as a coach, where it's like, okay, I understand this player is probably going through a lot in terms of starting with a new team, and probably trying to understand the philosophy and the way we're trying to play, what the coach wants from them. So for me, being that extension now to make sure that they feel at home, to make sure that every single session they feel as though there's certain accountability, because I'm asking them what do they want, and now they actually have to think about what they need from the sessions. So they're trying to make everything feel like home. So I think, hearing these stories, Mike and Sas, like hearing, Phallon, your kind of story, and other players that we've had on, understanding, okay, how can, as a goalkeeper coach, how can you affect that to make that transition and, really create that bridge to make it a little bit easier, for me, has been really beneficial from these kind of podcasts.
Yeah. By the way, Omar, I think you might want to check your Wi-Fi connection right there, because you're literally looking like a Fortnite character. Like you're kind of all pixelated and everything like that going on right there. Actually, not Fortnite. What's the game where everyone's kind of blocky?
Minecraft.
What's it called? Minecraft. God. Oh man, I sound like my dad now. This is horrible. That was a Bruce moment right there. That was a Bruce match.
You haven't sold me on our new platform yet. Like as of right now, I'm like, oh.
Zoom was good, man. We had a good thing going.
I'm like, Zoom. Why did we change right
because
now?
of the graphic. You can't do graphics on Zoom.
Well, yeah, it looks like a Disney character.
Yeah, you want graphics or do you want my face? Whichever one. Either way works.
He can't have his awesome backdrops. I don't know. We got to have a talk about this.
Oh my! We need an engineer. We need the budget for an engineer. We have a professional engineer.
Automatic makeup screen. I'm really upset about this.
So Phallon's going to have, go ahead. Go ahead, Omar.
I'll ask you a question. I think, again, we have, players, young players and coaches as well. So maybe from like a two-part question, the first one would be, what do you do to assimilate best and kind of understand the process of, making new friends on the team, but also you're getting paid to play and play at a high level. So how did you assimilate there? And then also from the coach's perspective, what do you think your coach, maybe your goalkeeper coach, your head coach did for you that helped you kind of make that transition a little bit smoother?
Yeah, so right from the start, I always give myself I have like a 2-week rule. So I always tell myself, whether it was in soccer or school, the first 2 weeks of anything that I start are going to be rough. Like anytime you join a new club, like those first 2 weeks are going to be a grind, no matter what you're doing, where you're going. And so I give myself like a little bit of leeway when I'm having those tough days, and that helps me mentally. And I know after those 2 weeks that I'm going to settle in and get in with the club, especially here in France. When it was a struggle just to be in the grocery store, just like peanut butter was in the exotic aisle. Like some tears were shed in the grocery store. It's called Carrefour, and I was not well. I was on the phone with my mom.
Try buying a $20 apple in Japan.
Yeah, I know. It's real. But then once those 2 weeks settled in and I gave myself those 2 weeks, I really got along with the club, and I spoke zero French, but the girls were super, super nice to me. And then kind of for your second part of the question of what the coaching staff, my coaching staff here in Reims, I was very lucky. They were very patient with me. Like even from the first day, they told me that they understand that the game's going to be at a quicker pace for me. And they made that clear to me. They knew that I would grow as a player. And that's why they signed me, essentially, because they saw that I could develop here. And so that really gave me the confidence. Even when I wasn't performing to the best that I wanted to, I knew that they were still had my back no matter what I was doing.
Yeah. Mike, just want to say,
Go ahead.
just one more thing to that, I think, and Saska, I maybe bring you in on this, but I think as well, when young players, we go to a new team, right away, I think we always think, okay, what can I do to impress them? What can I do to, make a name for myself? When in reality, like, we brought you in as a coaching staff because we saw something about your game and the way your style of play is going to really, translate well for our team. So it's just like that. Those, like you just said, Phallon, it's just kind of understanding from the coach's perspective of like, hey, we know what you can do, everything, and put everything on the platter for you to make sure that you bring the best out of your game, because we know from the film and from scouting you that what you bring to us is obviously the reason why we brought you in. So any young players, when you're out there being scouted, you're going on somewhere, just don't go in there trying to be something you're not or try to impress anybody. You've already impressed them. That's why you're there. So just try your best to hopefully have a good coaching staff bring you in and says, we already know these are your attributes and we're going to fine tune them. But yeah, don't go in there trying to do something you're not.
I think one of the most, what Phallon realized and stuff, one of the most important things is, like, as a coach coming into a situation like going to France, going to Japan, going wherever, is that we understand that you have to learn the language, you have to assimilate and stuff like that. So instead of trying to do what Omar said and trying to, like, take your time to do that, take the time you need to get on point with those things, because that's what's important, and then the rest will come. And with especially with a like a language barrier and everything like that, like, those are the important things from preseason, from get-go, and so on and so forth. When I went into Japan, like, I made sure that the first things I learned, even though I like a Japanese teacher and stuff, was, how to say the most important words as a goalkeeper on the field, like right, left, like step ball, like clear, and so on and so forth. Like, you get those points down and you move on from there. And we all, as coaches, know that there's a learning curve in that, because that's not just going from an American club to an American club, an English club or something like that. That's going to be totally different culture and, like, speaking. And, granted, in France, I'm sure I would think a lot of your teammates speak English, but they want to speak French on the field. In Japan, nobody spoke good English. So it was like, so those are kind of like the hurdles, but realizing that your coaching and your coaching staff understands that,
But by the way, Omar, just want to let you know that we could hear you taking off your jacket the entire time. We could. It sounded like a wind tunnel going on, and I was like, "Did Phallon open the window? Like, what's going on?"
I know.
Yeah,
right
usually
now.
the background noise.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I had to. My grandparents opened the door for our dog, and then he came outside. The door was locked, so he starts barking until he gets in. Anywho.
Oh my gosh.
But,
it's funny. We have Go ahead, Omar.
No. So I think, again, eventually I'll announce where I'm coaching. But
Oh my
dear God, I mean, you had a game this weekend. You literally had a game.
We
You guys
did.
have a result already.
It's like the worst kept secret in goalkeeping. Like, period. Like, everybody knows. Just say it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's LAFC 2. Well, Las Vegas Lights, pretty much.
Congratulations, Omar. Congratulations, Omar.
Thank you. But to build on that, we've had a few trialists come through, and I think what's, like, from the coach's perspective, kind of what separates people is, like, being empathetic. Obviously, there's, like, results driven. You have to be understanding of, we need to get results, who's the best goalkeeper, and then that's how you make decisions. But understanding that when you have a trialist coming in, to allow them to really bring out their best attributes of where they are. They have to be in the right state of mind. And that right state of mind, in my opinion, is a direct result of how the goalkeeper coach can communicate that with the player. Obviously, we had a game recently, and our goalkeepers, it was 30 minutes, and we split them, 15 minutes, and they play 15 minutes. So that was very difficult for them to understand, like, how the pitch was playing, the pattern of play, and who the back four was. Really new to the team. And after
Oh dear God, Omar.
You can't
Omar,
hear me?
you need to hardwire. You need to get an Ethernet cable and like go in with a hardwire, dude. The Wi-Fi's
You guys
not
all
working.
look normal. You guys all look normal. Like, no one. Is it just me then?
It's just you. You're the Minecraft character. It's just
But you can hear me. You can hear me still fine?
Well, we can hear you until you pause and then go.
Oh,
Like that.
God. Okay, this is like one of the episodes I've been talking the most too, so I got to stop. Anyways, I'll go for my phone. But continue on. I'll go for my phone.
Oh dear God. We got a question right here, actually, from somebody right here for you, Phallon. This is from Luke Miller. And he goes, "I have a daughter, 13 years old. She's going through a rough patch with injury and a new team that she joined this year that is really underperforming. I'm really hoping that her passion for the game does not die. She loves the game. I'm wondering what advice you would give a young player to keep the passion alive." Then it says mostly directed at Phallon, which I guess means we can comment as well too, but mostly for you, Phallon.
Well, hi, Mr. Miller. I think that was his last name. Is definitely a great question, because I have had periods of time where my passion stayed the same, but like the amount of struggle I had going into a practice definitely varied. Where I went through difficult times, especially particularly in university, where maybe I questioned things a bit and things got difficult. But particularly for your daughter, I think it's very natural for those things to happen. And I've been a part of teams where necessarily the team doesn't perform as well, but those are the teams, especially for a goalkeeper, those are teams that are like the best for a goalkeeper, because then you get the most action. You really get to, play with your techniques and really try your best on the field and try different things. And then for me, what I found works when really I'm struggling is I do look outwards for other hobbies when I'm struggling. Like, I like to draw. I like to learn different things about the ocean. Sometimes hyper focusing on soccer too much can make you just pull away from it even more. So I would definitely recommend if she could find something outwardly, and then naturally that love for soccer will still be there. And injuries are so difficult for any player. I had a bad injury with my ankle during university, and really just the girls around me just helping me out, doing extra sessions and things like that helped during that time period. So maybe certain things like that could help.
Yeah, I'm going to go to another level with that as well. I don't know the injury she had. Luke, I think it is, right? But there sometimes is a mental block with an injury, of fear of injury again, and the fear of the pain you went through. And it's like a PTSD. And for me, when I came off of a surgery in the university, I like saying it that way, in the university, if I say the university, people think I went to Miami, and I didn't.
Hey, nothing wrong with Miami, right, Phallon?
Nothing wrong.
I came off and stuff. There was that fear, that pain, and it's in the back of your head, and it takes a little bit to like kind of engage and realize you're not going to feel that pain or get injured again. And I actually had to talk with a sports psychologist and work through that with visualization and stuff. And if that's what she's going through, then that's something that has to be identified, and you have to deal with it. Because it's important. It's, like I said, I don't know the injury she went through, but I know what I went through, and having to see the sports psychologist, go through visualization, kind of be able to put it in its place and get on the field and not think about it and work on tools that got me to that place. So that might be something you have to look into.
I love one of the things that you said there, Saskia and Phallon, both in regards to just, outside interests and everything like that too. That when, you have an injury, if you have things that can take you away from the field, it's very, very beneficial for you, because if you're just focused on just the field, then you're going to focus on the injury. But if you have outside things going.
She's dealing with plantar fasciitis. All right. Okay. So number one, plantar fasciitis, tell her to get, you need to get orthotics. It's impossible, in my opinion, to wear orthotics in your soccer shoes, because soccer shoes are flat. They're supposed to be flat so you can stay level to the field. I had plantar fasciitis myself, so I wore my orthotics in every single thing other than my soccer shoes. So by the time I got on the field, like my arches weren't hurting or anything like that. And there's a lot of rehab that she can do for that. If you don't, she's young, she's 13. If you don't have a physio, then take a can of soup, freeze it, When she's sitting there at night or when she wakes up in the morning, put the can of soup on the ground, roll her arch over it. It ices it, but it ices it with movement and massages it at the same time. The minute she gets out of bed, make sure she steps right into her shoes with her arch supports in them, and keep working on it that way.
Yeah, and I want to say, Luke, for your daughter, if she's listening to this right now, Saskia's wearing a hat right now that says Pac-12 champs, so she knows what she's talking about right now. Okay, I just had to throw that plug in right there. Honestly, congratulations, Saskia, on the Pac-12 awards that your entire staff got, and obviously your goalkeeper Lauren. Shout out to her. That was really, really awesome. I wanted to kind of throw that in there. Let's kind of start diving into this topic. I think we have Omar, otherwise known as Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey, on the call with us right now, with that interesting avatar of just an eye staring at you. That is not comfortable. Awkward. Today's topic, guys, is balls over the top. The reason we decided to go on to this topic is Saskia and I were actually having a conversation last week. She was on a panel on Clubhouse for Angel City where they were discussing the past week in NWSL Challenge Cup. And this was a trend we were seeing, was a lot of goalkeepers and a lot of back lines having issues on communication, on balls over the top, recognizing when to go, when not to go. Phallon, for some of the parents out there who might be listening, like Luke, for instance, if he's not familiar with the terminology, what do we mean by balls over the top?
So balls over the top, how I interpret that is really any flighted ball, even if it's a driven ball, that really lands in that tricky space between a back line and the goalkeeper. And now a decision needs to be made who gets to that ball. Whether it's the goalkeeper, whether it's the defender, or if the forward gets there first and you have to make a save. Yeah.
And I think it's honestly, to be honest with you, Susk or Omar, again, if Omar's there, I'm not sure if he is, or it could be a computer.
That's the I've ever seen for Omar.
It's the best virtual background.
Like, I can hear you.
Please tell me this is what you. Did you see how it started vibrating? It started like moving. It starts winking at you. That is so creepy. Sask, obviously, you've played at the highest of levels. You can probably attest to this. This is a really difficult situation for a young goalkeeper to handle.
It is, and what we have to realize is this is a good opportunity for coaches out there and everybody to understand this is where goalkeepers need to manipulate a situation. And whether you need to manipulate the pressure on the ball, if you're having a problem with your team, that balls keep getting served over the top, that through ball or whatever, they keep getting through from midfield, then there needs to be more pressure on those services. Obviously, the other team realizes you're susceptible to that. So let's put pressure on those services. So now that nixes it, right? Control your back line so that your back line is pushed to the distance where your goalkeeper feels comfortable. They're not sitting on their line, so that they have an edge where even if that service comes in, it's coming in from a certain point that it's not a direct threat on goal. So now you can cheat off your line. Now you're higher off your line and you're kind of like, all right, they're not going to beat me over the top with a long shot. If they play that through ball, I can either come, I can stay, right? And then if it gets through and people are chasing at you, now we have to deal with the goalkeeper and dealing with 1v1s. Don't let your goalkeeper back up if they're caught out of position. Maintain close space, right? But then again, it comes down to communication with your defensive line, your individual backs that are chasing, and everything. So this becomes really, really an education in a chess game and how to stop it and how to manipulate it.
One of the things I've noticed when it comes to a lot of young goalkeepers, when it comes to a ball over the top, is a lot of times they'll give me, I don't want to say an excuse, but Omar, I'm sure you've heard this before. Well, this is how my team plays. This is how my team plays. We're supposed to be standing here or whatever. And then again, right, Omar, they're playing this concept of like, well, let's say it's a hypothetical team like LAFC, and they're playing a high line. Just because that's how you play, you still have to recognize the situation and you have to recognize the strengths of the other team. If they're playing balls over the top and consistently coming in on you, well, you might have to retreat back a little bit.
Yeah, and I think
you there?
You made a really good point. Yeah, I think you made a really good point earlier when you asked the questions like, why is this a difficult, I guess, technique to master for young goalkeepers? And I think it's mainly because, as we can all attest to, the more experience you have, the easier it gets.
Absolutely.
And the more experience, meaning that the more times you've misjudged it, the more times you've realized, okay, I've just done the job that I could have let my defenders do, and then I could have dealt with the cutback instead. So there's different layers to balls over the top, and I think depending on your experience level, and obviously as well, your warm up too, as goalkeeper coaches, maybe we don't do it enough. Is the field wet? Is the field slick? Is it field dry? There's a lot of balls that come over the top where initially the trajectory seems like it's a ball that we can come out for, and then you realize, oh, okay, that took a really, really good bounce for the striker, so it leveled for them. So maybe I need to drop off. So as I said, it's kind of understanding that weight distribution, that weight transfer from like the front leg and being in a staggered stance, so that if it does break that line and it does have like a little bit of a slick bounce, then we're on the front foot. But also too, we can shift that weight to the back foot, where we can drop off. And I think that's where that's why I think film is so important and breakdowns are so important. And I'll tell you this: we had a game 2 weeks ago, and our goalkeeper got a bad back pass. He decided that he was kind of going to wait for it. He waited for it, and then the striker ended up beating him to the ball, and the striker obviously went around him, almost scored. And then the second time around, sorry, Mike, you can't text me through the show, dude. No, but then a very similar situation happened, and he realized that, okay, instead of waiting, I need to come off my line a little bit more and be more aggressive. So again, that understanding where your starting points are relative to where the build-up play is going to be and where the striker is going to be, serving the ball from is so important. I think that's why film adds to that level of experience that hopefully transitions you from a beginner to a more experienced goalkeeper.
Yeah, and I think this is where repetition does come into play in goalkeeper coaching. This does come into seeing different types of balls, seeing them over and over again, because not every decision is the same, depending on your defense, depending on people running back to you, depending on what the attackers are doing, depending on what the weight of the ball. And so as much as you can throw that into into a functional session, with other players and stuff, I think is really good. You have to throw those goalkeepers into that decision making, letting them figure out what their distance is off the line, when, how, with pressure on the ball, without pressure on the ball, and so on and so forth. It's something that has to be trained.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things about that is that you're saying that it has to be trained, but we have to allow our young goalkeepers to make these mistakes.
Absolutely.
I think that's, one of the things that I've even just seen in regards to the maturation of yourself from like, University of Miami, all the way, obviously to where you are today is recognizing kind of like, what balls you can win, what balls you can't win. And then maybe not even just a balls over the top situation, but in other scenarios too. And if we don't allow our young goalkeepers to do that, once they get to your level, for instance, they're going to get, for lack of a better term, exposed. And again, at the professional level, like you only have to make a few mistakes before they're making a decision, right?
Oh, yes, I definitely agree with that, especially at this level. This is definitely a topic of conversation that I've had with my goalkeeper trainer for the last 2 months, especially throughout my time here, but especially during these last 2 months where we've really just been, during my training sessions, if we're having 11v11, capitalizing the opportunity to really think about just a few steps higher, being in that racer stance, ready to pounce on that ball that's just hit a little bit too hard. And I am able to watch our film with the men's goalkeeper coach here, and every single film session, he stops and looks at my positioning, whether or not I could be a little bit higher. So that constant reminder of being higher is always there. And especially important for these young goalkeepers to know that mistakes happen all the way from the tiny tots to the professional goalkeepers. That's no doubt. And then as you get to these pro levels, you got to be even more careful because these girls are fast. We have Bunny Shaw in this league, and man, there's one clip that I sent you that where we were in a race, and I was clearly losing that race, and so there was some hesitation steps. And then also, you just have to know your players you're playing against, because once a game against every team in this league, Marizanne is looking for that chip. Once a game, and she will catch you if you're not paying attention quickly. But it's definitely that's difficult for everyone.
Yeah, and I agree with that so much. You have to know who you're playing against. I mean, you're not gonna jump if you're going up against Sunshine. because if Sunshine's in the 10 and you think she's playing that through ball or that over the top, she's going to chip. She's going to hit the ball. She's going to chip you. She's looking. You have to remember that they're smart enough to see that. But I love that, I used to stand there and I used to make sure that if that center midfielder looked up and saw me, they saw they didn't have that. But at the same time, I'm in that razor stance like, oh my God, please play that ball. I'm ready. And then it depends on the weight of the ball. Okay, she played it, but it's going right into the space. I can't get it. So I have to stay. I have to, see the first touch that the player went to and then deal with it from there. Or this is a 50-50 ball. I've already got the jump. Because young players, you have to remember the forwards are running onto the ball with pace. They already have a start on you. You're starting from a standing still position, right? So you're already behind the play in a sense. You're already behind the play. So if you time it wrong and everything, they're gonna dribble around you. Even if you come and you stand them up, they're still coming at pace. And one touch, you're kind of like in a tough situation right there. So this is, again, I'm going back. This is something that has to be trained.
Yeah, and and I think one of the good things I'm going to ask the computer avatar over here, because it's very difficult in a private setting to train this. I think one of the things is like I'll have parents come up to me, Omar, and they'll be like, oh, can you work on this with him? And I'm like, do you have a team? Can you have me go out to the field and work with his team? It's very difficult for me to do this in a private setting.
Yeah, it's obviously difficult when you don't have the field capacity and the size and all that. But I think it definitely, when we get down to the layers of what you're actually trying to work on in decision making. So I think, again, it's helping the goalkeeper understand what is your early on decision making look like. And I like to use film, for example, to utilize like what do you look for when the center back of the opposing team has time on the ball, or when a center midfielder has time on the ball. What are you looking for? Are you being pessimistic, like we always talk about, and understanding, okay, if this ball gets played in behind, am I ready to come out for it? So I show them that, and then I say, okay, I'm going to show you what we just saw, but I'm going to show you like the finishing portion of it. So the earlier layer, I can't really show you because the field's not big enough. And I want to strike 60 balls from, far away, and it's just difficult off the lines. But I'm going to show you the tail end of the play I'm just showing you now. It's the decision of, are you coming out for it on the 1v1 or are you holding? So I think for me, like, it's just kind of utilizing as many different tools as you possibly can if it's film, so that they can understand, okay, yeah, this ball got played to the center back and this ball got played a little bit closer to goal, and then that's what we're working on now. So just helping them understand specifics as to the decision making and what we're trying to set the foundations for. So when they step into a game, they have a better idea of being on that front foot and they have some experience on that.
I think another advanced step in this is when are you moving, right? And so we have to look at when you're moving. Are you moving? You should be moving when the ball is in limbo, when the ball is in no man's land. You should be able to, as you advance as a goalkeeper, be able to judge, even though that ball might be 70-30, the space it's going into. If I steal space now, when the ball is not in limbo, when it's in nowhere, it's in traveling mode. By the time it gets to this forward that's obviously beaten my defender and going into space, where am I positioned? Like I might not beat them to the ball, but now I'm not in no man's land, or I'm not too close to my line. I've traveled while the ball is traveling. So when they touch the ball, I'm there, right? And that all depends on the pace of the ball, like where the ball is going and everything like that. Or if it's a 50-50 ball, you're there beforehand, or you're coming out and you're just collecting it. But it's when you're traveling, and I think we find a lot with young goalkeepers is they wait to see where the ball is going to end up and then go. And I think the problem with that is if the ball ends up 50-50 and then you go, well, now you're not 50-50 anymore. Right? You could have been there. You could have smothered it or anything like that. Flip the player up on their heels. They'd never come back in the box again. Right? But if you're waiting till the ball's on their foot, and you've stayed, now they're going to take a touch, and now what are you going to do? And we see a lot of goalkeepers say, "Oh, I should have gone," and now they run. And that's exactly what it. So it's when are you telling your keepers to travel? When it's in that nothing zone.
Ont décidé de prendre l'ascendant sur ce match et cette passe de Lacrar pour tenter de trouver Fowler, mais bonne sortie de en touche. Allez, Landeka peut-être pour une dernière offensive montpelliéraine. Ce long ballon, ça sera trop long et capté par Tullis-Joyce.
And so that's the decision making. But do you understand what I'm saying, Phallon? Like you can't travel after the ball's hit its point. You have to travel and assess it during that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you definitely have to be mentally active too. I think that's a big part. It's not just the physical aspect of getting to the ball, but like even when as the ball is moving, the ball is on the player's foot, you have to be thinking of what options that player has and really thinking ahead and anticipating what they can do.
And like you said, some people are really, really fast. So you're like, oh, I thought I was going to get, oh, I'm not. I was going to, oh, I'm not. So now what are you going to do? So it has to be, you have to do it in flow. And like, that's where we see young goalkeepers say they've made one decision, they're sticking with it. Yeah. And you can't, it might change in the flow of play.
By the way, I don't know if anybody else heard that whatsoever, but I couldn't hear anything Saskia was saying. I actually was trying to put one of Phallon's videos in the queue, and I started playing her video. And so I was just watching highlights of Phallon, and I thought that's what the audience was getting, and I was freaking out. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to play this video right now. I'm so sorry, guys. Saskia, I'm so sorry about this. And then it turns out nobody heard any of that. That was all in my head.
I'm used to it.
Oh, man. Omar, one thing I want to bring up with you is because this is a conversation we've had a lot in regards to the weight of service when you're training, when you're designing your sessions. You need to make sure that you change the weight of service on these balls over the top, because as Phallon and Saskia can attest to, playing at the highest levels, is that, based on the spin, based on, how much flight there is to the ball, how much air underneath it is going to determine, whether you approach that ball, whether you retreat, all those sorts of things.
Was that a question?
Yeah. I mean, I just can't tell if you're here because it's just a plain backdrop. So I'm just like, did he hear me? Hello?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
I don't think you heard what you said.
Okay, did you hear anything we said? Okay. Well, anyway, so Phallon, I'll ask you about that because you're the one going through the training right now.
So specifically
in regards to, like, when you're working with your goalkeeper coach, like they need to make sure that, they're giving you different types of unpredictable service, different weights on the ball, different flights on the ball. So a little bit of air underneath it, more direct balls, because then that way in the game's unpredictable. And if you're not going to have the same service, if you start just giving the same service to kids, that's all they understand how to do is move in that pattern based on that type of a flight of a ball.
Oh, exactly. Especially on this type of scenario, there's so many different situations that can happen. And really what we do for our team, and even in Miami too, is what we do is we took those sessions that we had with the field players, and then now my goalkeeper trainer is behind the net watching what my decision-making is, what my positioning is. And when the field players are having that session where they're slotting balls through, normally it's on the ground or over the top, that communication is so necessary with my team. My goalkeeper coach is constantly behind me telling me what advice he has for me, what I should be doing instead. And it's really based on the field players. And then you get like the most realistic aspect of it in the game, because these are the players that will be hitting them in. So that's normally how we do it.
No, and I do the same thing, Phallon. And I think, okay, Omar, stop texting. I do the same thing, Phallon, where I'm behind like today we did those balls over the top and stuff in functional training and slotted balls and understanding positioning and everything. But I'm behind my keepers as well. I'm not in the goal, but behind the goal, and just listening to their communication, watching their decision-making and their, angles and everything. 'Cause it's important. So goalkeeper coaches out there, you're not, I know you have to serve the ball, but if you have the advantage of being in the goal or behind the goal with your goalkeepers, I think that's the best perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think, the thing is that if you're not, whoa, look at this perspective right there. Oh I love all these collages and stuff like that. Phallon, I want to ask you this because, we want to start watching, some film of you, right now in regards to this, but like, I think, one of the problems that happens a lot of times with young goalkeepers, and Jessica, this is her biggest pet peeve, and in balls over the top, it is the biggest issue in the youth game, in my opinion. And that is the sidelines telling the goalkeeper what to do in this situation. It is honestly it's her biggest pet peeve. I know it's one of my biggest pet peeves. And in balls over the top, it's probably more common than in any other time.
Yeah, through balls, calling keeper for them. Oh my God, don't even get me started.
Absolutely. And actually, when you sent me this topic, that's one of the things that I thought of. And you still deal with it now at the professional level, Somehow it's just always your forwards that's yelling at you to come out. And you're just like, bro, you're like 100 meters away.
And I'll yell at them, even at the like, nobody's telling, Lauren's not telling you to shoot. Okay? From this far away. Don't call keeper for a keeper.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I love my forwards, but it's a very common thing, and it's difficult to control because really it does happen. I'm sure for the younger goalkeepers too, because there are plenty of parents on the sidelines yelling at the keeper trying to get to have a decision be made. And actually, because I will tell you firsthand that I do get a little frustrated. And the worst part about that is that now you're veering. You're no longer thinking about the game. But you're steaming up a bit on sides, and so that needs to change. You need to put your focus back on the game. And how my goalkeeper coach really explained it to me is that, that player, she just doesn't want a goal. She's just scared. She's just nervous. So you have to just kind of think about it in that regard, where the one who's making the judgment call is you, and just as best as you can, just put on those earmuffs and you make the decision. And whether or not you made a mistake or not, you're going to learn from it. And everyone makes these mistakes.
Yeah, but I think my biggest pet peeve with it is that when people call that, when it's the forwards that call it, or the moms and dads on the sideline and stuff, your defense hears keeper.
Yes.
And they could stop. Or they can do something and you're not coming. And so now something where they maybe kept coming and shielded off a player, or you couldn't come, maybe a slip on your shoelace, I don't know. Whatever it is, now the defense stops. It's the same thing as raising your hand and stopping on an offsides call. It's like just play. And I didn't call it. So the minute that somebody else calls it, whether it's those joysticker coaches on the sideline and everything like that, you're disrupting what's going on the field. And if the goalkeeper didn't call it, that means the goalkeeper's not coming. Well, now you got young goalkeepers that hear your coach or whoever on the sideline going keeper, and now they think they're supposed to come. Now they're out of position. Now they've come too late. And your defense has stopped because they think the goalkeeper's coming. The goalkeeper's coming late, and you have a goal against you. Just shut up.
Yeah, I agree. And it happens to me now. And I guess it really still comes down to communication, because the only way to fix that, because honestly, it's always going to happen. People are always going to yell and try and make decisions for you. But the best way, I personally think, is maybe pre-communication, like talking to your defenders, having a little powwow and talking to them and saying, like, guys, like, I make this decision, like, I need you to have trust in me and have faith in me when I make that decision. And like, that's the communications between me and you. So that's what I would recommend to younger goalkeepers.
From day one at UCLA, I've actually ripped people for doing it in practice. And I will, I don't scream, Mike, but I will scream at that moment. I mean, do not call keeper for the keeper. I don't care if we're playing small. I don't care what it is. I have hammered that in from day one. Don't do it. And I don't do it anymore. We'll watch
by the way, I want to bring up something right now, how important that communication is, before we kind of get into some of these clips of Phallon right here in an NWSL last week. Again, I'm not trying to be derogatory towards any goalkeepers, but more the scenarios themselves. There was the Alyssa Nair situation where she got scored on by A-Rod. That was a debacle, in my opinion. And I'm not faulting Alyssa Nair on that. There was a complete miscommunication between herself and her inside backs on that. I don't know what was going on right there, but that ball was played over the top, and she froze. She didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. And then the ball was literally just, A-Rod just literally just bullied away past them and was able to slot that ball easily.
And I say the same things. Like, I rip my keepers at the same time. If the keepers are late on a call, I tell I tell any defender, I'm like, if it's a late call from the keeper, when in doubt, just clear it. I'm like, and I will get on the keeper for a late call. All right. Because if you don't hear it in time, do your job, clear it. And if she's like, well, I call keeper, you call keeper too late. All right. So, somebody's got to make the decision. And if you're waiting for the goalkeeper to make the decision, that means it's too late. So just clear it. Just do your job and do it. Don't be like, are you coming? Are you coming? Where are you? Are you coming? If you have to say that to a keeper, then the keeper is indecision. Get rid of the ball. Period. Get rid of the ball.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think that's such a valid point right there, because I think the thing is Phallon is obviously is that, by the way, for anybody who's wondering, like, they're like, you're just not letting Omar talk, are they? They're like, no, Omar's been having some technical issues, so he actually hopped off the call. We don't want anybody to think that we're just like, shut up, Omar, don't talk. You're an avatar right now. We're not going to let you talk. He had to take off. But Phallon is that needs to be read by young goalkeepers, that it is okay to just take control and just say, let's just clear that ball. I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
I want you just to take care of it. I don't need you to build this out. Let's just live another day. It doesn't have to be the prettiest situation, but when in doubt, just play it out, like they always say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
All right, let's
I didn't agree with that.
I was like,
well, because it's also, that's something that, I'm sure I used to get angry with too. It's that person let's say the defender running back, shielding the player with the ball, saying, come on, come get it. And whether you're late making the decision, whether they don't see what's behind them, okay, at the same time, because they're running towards you, and you're just like, and you're not coming, just clear it. And don't sit there and go, where are you? Come for the ball. No. If I haven't come, clear the ball. Now that's on me to say, just clear it. I don't care if you kick it for a corner kick, clear it. But don't tell me to come. Maybe I've made the mistake. Just make the decision, like, get rid of it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I want to pull up this clip. I want to start off with this first clip right here. Let's see if I can make this happen. Saskia's looking at me. She's like, she's not confident that I'm gonna be able to make this.
After this, trust me.
she's gonna have a conversation with me after all of this right now. But let's see if I can open this up right here. Okay, let's turn off that volume right there. Okay, so I want to pull up this clip, right? Let's see here.
Thanks for the mute.
Yeah, well, I gotta, oh, here we go. Okay, so this is the spot I wanted to do right here. So basically, what happens is ball's played in from the outside wing of the defensive third, over. Phallon, you shift across. Basically, you drop for depth when you recognize that, and then you approach once you're positioned and you're good with it. So I want let's just play it kind of through. Basically, what happens right here is ball starts here. Let's play it in real time so everyone kind of can see. Let's see here. Is that playing?
Yeah, Mike, you're gone. There you go.
Okay, I'm gone. Okay. All right, here we go. So ball's played over the top. Here's the shift. Come across. Read it, and it's just a simple connection right there.
Look at Phallon's starting position to start with, period. Okay, so if we bring this back, look at where this ball is served from. This ball is served from, plus 10 from the mid-stripe. Okay, look at how great her starting position is. All right, she's above the 12. Okay, nobody's maybe somebody would try to huff a shot from there. I'm pretty sure nobody would. If they would, I would hope Phallon could get back and get it. I'm sure he can. But it's a great starting position. And I think a lot of times we see young keepers just kind of stuck, maybe at their 6, maybe inside their 6. But her starting position is everything here. And it makes a through ball that, had she been deeper, would have been trouble. But now it's like, all right, I have, go ahead, play it in here. So we have to look at the starting position on this. Could her defender right there put some pressure on the service? Absolutely. We can talk about that another time. And that's what we're about, shutting down the service. But her starting position is perfect.
Phallon, feel free to interject anytime you want right there. But I think, I love the fact that you brought that up, Saskia, in regards to, that communication aspect too, because there's obviously an understanding between, yourself and your backs here. And they know, if they're good backs, at least they know where you generally start yourself in a scenario like this. And as that ball's coming in, they go, oh, we recognize that she's going to be able to get there in time, so we're going to retreat and support instead. What we see a lot of times at the youth level is see those, a couple of those players right there that are kind of swarming around the ball. They'll start approaching that ball too, and that's when it becomes a big melee, right?
Well, I'm going to interject really quick because I'll break this down even more. Had she not started that high line right there, right? Had she been deeper in her goal and your center comes across and gets that ball, look at the outside, look at the weak side outside. Her weak side outside defender stops. Right. So if she's not able to play this ball, so if the center beats her to this ball, she's got a slotted ball to the far side, to the weak side, and it's a goal. Period. So because of her high line, she can eat this up. There's a lot of things we have to talk about with you.
Trust me, I know.
just saying. So watch the far outside, and so because she's where she is, she diffuses a real look at the weak side. She diffuses.
By the way, I want a lot of young goalkeepers to see this, because when we play a lot of these clips in a podcast and everything like that, the reason we're doing this is to show, because our job, young goalkeepers, is to eliminate goal scoring opportunities. Our job is not to make saves and perform the final action. The final action is the emergency because a goal scoring opportunity was created, right? So I love when we can showcase just, this is goalkeeping, guys. This is what goalkeeping is kind of all about. Phallon, anything you want to add to it? Other than beautiful smile.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But also it's just even just as the play develops, just for younger goalkeepers to be aware of those, like my defender kind of loses her mark a bit, but just knowing that you try to attack the ball as much as you can, get it at the highest point in the box that you can, because if you let it come to you, the chances are a lot higher for that forward to come and just pick it off. That's also a point that happens quite often.
I mean, look, I love the fact that you said that, because, I don't think a lot of players recognize the fact that the reason that they get caught in a lot of these situations is because they're not recognizing, those variables. And we talk about this all the time, Saskia, on this show, is that if you don't recognize the scenarios that could take place on a ball, if you don't recognize what could happen, chances are you're only going to be prepared for one of those situations on that ball.
Right. But I think that, I think that Phallon's main focus there, once this ball's getting served, is you have to focus on the ball. Yeah. And so everything else had to already be organized. I think we see a lot of young goalkeepers get caught up in, okay, so let me, I'm still trying to organize the weak side while I'm trying to come for this ball, and stuff like that. No, there's a point that you just have to focus on the ball. And her positioning was great. Her starting position was great. She focused on the ball and she came and ate it up. If she's slow on that and everything, we're in a totally different scenario. So well done.
Yeah. I want to bring up this clip right now, because this is a really good one. What basically happens is, in the 57th minute, there's like a lifted ball from the wing. There's a lot of height underneath this ball, which is allowing obviously time for players to get under the ball, which I think is really difficult, especially found for younger goalkeepers. The more time they have under a ball, the more scary the situation is to them. And you kind of recognize that. You recognize the drop of the ball, so you let it bounce first before you approach it. So I want to kind of bring up that clip. Let me pull that up. Can everyone see this right here? Let me go back here.
You don't get music? There it is.
Yeah, there's my music. Yeah, there's my music. There's my music. All right. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. All right. Well, we'll play it from here. So, okay. So here. So basically, as you guys can see, now you can't see where Phallon is right here, but you're in a deep position right here on this ball right here. As this ball is played in, there's a high lift. Again, freaky situation for a lot of young kids, especially when that ball bounces, because they go, oh my gosh, I didn't get there in time or whatever. But you actually purposely, in my opinion, waited for the drop, waited for the bounce before you approach this ball. And then on the challenge, it's nice and simple contained ball right there. So kind of walk us through kind of your thinking, right here.
I definitely think that I could have started a bit higher, but the wait for the bounce was definitely purposeful because it can get tricky with the bounce, especially if you're going at it too fast, too early, because you have a scenario where it could then go over and you get yourself into a tricky spot. So in that particular scenario, waiting for the bounce, I think is the best option. And then attacking it. I think really the timing of attacking a ball in the air, I've trained some younger goalkeepers, and that's normally a struggle because a lot of times it's just like maybe you get there too early and then you're just a 2-foot hop up and then you're just getting wrecked. So the best thing is knowing your flow into a high ball, knowing how you approach it and then knowing your timing and really working on that is good for scenarios like that.
Suska, anything you want to add here?
No, I totally agree. I mean, you get kids that they get there and they just stand there and now they're trying to jump straight up. And, you kind of got to do okay, I'm letting this bounce, everything. I got to leave late, arrive early, kind of power through. So you've got to time it so you get it at the highest point so you're not jumping straight up with other people. I think that you also have to wait because, her defender had great positioning, but let's say she didn't, right? So let's say the forward cuts this and she was coming and you're coming, right? So now she cuts it and you're just gone. She's gone right by you with one touch and it's in the back of the net. So deciding that, okay, I'm going to wait for the bounce, you do have to wait, hold. So now if something happens, you can adjust to it as well, but then you have to be ready to power through. So.
Yeah, and I think, one of the really good things, in regards to that, I think too, is that, Phallon, I think a lot of young goalkeepers, they assume that any flighted ball that's coming over the top like that, it's their job to come out and approach and win that ball. It's their job to come out and win that ball. But again, as a seasoned professional, you recognize the fact that I'm not going to win that ball based on how that ball is dropping and based on the players underneath it. So they end up shooting too far over, and then now that ball's dropping behind them. And now it's a disaster.
Yeah.
But also found you also have to agree how much of a threat is the ball. Like, okay, so the ball, I let the ball drop. Let's say the two of them go up for a header. And I hold, they beat me there, they go up for a header. Now, if I'm coming because I've decided to do that, then that's an easy header over the top of me into the goal. Had I held for a second, that's an easy header that I'm just standing and catching.
Yes.
So in that second, you can judge that. How many times do you see young keepers, even professional keepers go, or college keepers go, oh, I'm coming for that with everybody, and it's a stupid little dink header that's like, boop, into the goal. And you're just like, had you stayed, because there's a defender there, how threatening is that head ball? How threatening is that going to be?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Just especially in that video too, like she's not getting any power off that header if she does head that ball. But if I'm, hesitant and she does get that header, she could easily hit it over me and into the net. So that's why waiting that situation is really good. And you see that even with a bouncing ball to a player's foot, they could just do the little dink over the top and just a chip that's too easy for the forward, and maybe waiting is the best option.
Absolutely.
I want to bring this up, Phallon, because one of the things that a lot of times is not brought into consideration when a ball like this is served in is the profile of the goalkeeper. That is an important thing. You need to understand where your strengths lie. Are you fast off your line? Are you slow? Can you jump very high? Are you tall? Are you long? All these things are going to determine when you approach and when you don't approach, and also how you approach too, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I have a bit of a taller profile, but any smaller size goalkeeper too can do the exact same thing as long as they know what positioning works for them, and that, they can be quick off their line. But particularly for me, I know that I even sometimes go for a ball with a punch, the ball that's coming straight in directly, and I'll come and punch it out to the sideline, just because I can use a little bit of that height to get there before the forward. So I'm pretty lucky about that sometimes. but especially if it's coming off a free kick, I can play a little bit higher off my line and intercept that ball into the box. And that's when it helps. But even just for the smaller goalkeepers, just a higher positioning can help them too. Just keeping in mind that they got to get back fast. I think tall profile helps, but just as equally, a smaller goalkeeper can do the exact same thing, just with experience.
Yeah, I'm sitting here running through like scenarios in my head. And so even that through ball, that long ball over the top, when you have defenders running on with attackers, it's another time to assess, am I coming? You know, like how much of a threat is this? Like, and I think we see a lot with young players, they get pulled out of position. They think they're coming, they're in no man's land, and it's a dink header over top, like just a flick or something. That had you waited and stayed, considering the pressure, it's whether it's like it's a 1v1, whether they're side by side, why come for that? Let's see what happens with the defender. Let's see, as opposed to pulling yourself out of position and it's just like kind of a little flick or a redirection, and now you're out of position and it's over your head. So sometimes it's really important to hold your position and wait and then explode through the ball.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point in regards to the exploding through the ball too. I think that's extremely important, is to understand that, because great, so wonderful. So you wait for the ball and then you just stand there and then you go vertical straight up on a ball like that. You're going to get crushed. You need to have that retreat space, that depth behind you. Exactly. Exactly. Phallon, I got a question for you, because, we were obviously talking about, the fact of the language barrier, when you're going overseas and playing in different countries. And I know on the first time you were on the show, we talked a little bit about just simple buzzwords when you're communicating with your back line. But in balls over the top, just in general, even when there's not a language barrier, I think this is one of the biggest issues that a lot of young goalkeepers have, is that they don't have a language with their backs on what to say in the situation and what that means in the situation. I think there's a big problem with it in youth goalkeeping, is that goalkeepers are told by their goalkeeper coaches or their team coaches, these are the words to use, but then they never actually discuss what they mean with their teammates. So their teammates aren't on the same page.
Yeah, especially here in France, like I've had talks with my defenders on what terms I'll be using, because sometimes I'll be directly translating something from English to French and it has just never been said on a French field before. So like they have no idea. Even if it's in French, they don't know what I'm talking about. So it's definitely important to have those conversations with your defenders beforehand, just to really be on the same page, like especially during those heated moments, and especially being in France when something so intense happens. It's my first language is English, and then I have to translate into French. But mostly that communication works well just because we have talked about it before. And when we just gone through those scenarios time and time again in practices, and that's where we build that confidence between me and my back line. So that communication and the confidence together really works well for us, no matter what language,
No, absolutely. Well, Saskia, I know that, obviously Phallon, obviously it's very late for you, so we'll start wrapping up here as well. And Saskia's got to start packing. She's got a big, she's got a big, you got to start washing clothes.
Well, I got to pack for 3 weeks. That's how I look at it. I got to ask a question. How'd you get the black eye?
Yeah.
I
know. It's actually it was like all the way out here before, but it was in our last game against Dijon and we won though. So, it's all worth it. But oh man, I got collided with one of the strongest players on our team on top of Shania Gordon, who's one of the strongest players on Dijon. Both of their bodies just came straight into my face. And I was a little woozy for about 5 seconds, but it was a corner, so I had to snap back into it. But yeah, we came.
She caught me. I'm like,
yeah, yeah. But we came out with the win, so it's all right.
Oh man, wow, that's and I was just thinking to myself, man, I can't wait to get back on the field and start playing again, because my league was going to start up soon, and I remember the last time I played, I broke my hand. So now that's making me think, oh, you know what? Maybe we can take a few more weeks before we. I know Saskia. They ask her to try to play every week, and she goes, you know what? I'm good. I am
good. I told you the thought process is you got to lead them thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, You got to leave them with that thought process. That's it. Yeah. Like the other day we were playing there. They had a big soccer tennis tournament. And Amanda's like, are you going to jump in? I go, no, because they all think I can jump in. But the truth is I suck at soccer tennis. I never know. I go, well, as long as I stay up here, it's fine. And I was just like, oh, my God. I go, seriously.
I actually have a really funny story that and it's actually UCLA related. I was working the UCLA goalkeeper camp, and they did a crossbar tournament, right? And we did this crossbar tournament, and I was obviously, you know, some of the UCLA players and myself, and it was outfield players, like not just goalkeepers, like outfield players too. And
let me guess.
Oh my gosh! So first guy that goes up, Abu Danladi, who ends up being like a top pick in the MLS Super Draft, and now is playing in MLS, and he goes up there and just pure clean crossbar hit, right? And I'm like, I go up next. I'm like, well, I'll be out real quick on this one, right? And I go up there without cleats on, by the way, just tennis shoes. And I hit it better than him, and it was the cleanest ball, and it was such luck completely.
You just walked away at that point?
Literally everyone was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe he was that good whatsoever, right? So then the next person's supposed to go up or whatever, and they go up and they shank it or whatever. So now it's just me and Abu, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna be done. I'll be exposed right here, right? Abu misses his, even though I'm sure this is like, he always hits it every single time. I'm the next guy, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna miss it right then. He'll hit the next one, whatever. I basically, again, do the thing. I hit an even better ball, and people are just like, oh, dude, this guy's awesome. This dude's amazing. I won the crossbar challenge at the UCLA camp. And I literally never touched the ball again at camp because I'm like,
I was teaching my kids on a basketball court how to throw 3 like half court shots, like how to work on your throwing as a goalkeeper to do it properly. Because if you like break it down to do it properly, you have to have a backspin. It has to hit the backboard and drop right in. So I got my young kids, because I used to do that at Rutgers when it was snowing outside in the gym. And I did it, and I like first thing, like more than half court, showed them proper technique, boom, in, done. Never threw a ball again. Like, all the kids were like this. And I was like, see, that's how you do it. And I'm like, never demoed it again. I was like, that's it. Just goes down in lore. That's the end of it.
It's like actually I mishit a ball actually at a goalkeeper camp once, and the kids were like, dude, this guy could finish like crazy, because I just hit shot this rocket into the upper V. Oh my God.
And Lauren said, you know, they used to put Jenny in for PKs, you know, because we all knew where the players were going. I was like, dude, you don't want me getting in PKs. I was just like, that was my forte. I will mess up the kickers' minds because I'll be saving everything. I'm like, even in sneakers, you don't want that. And she looked at me. I was like, I'm serious. I was like, I'm not getting in. What are you talking about?
I love that. I love that confidence.
Just keep the mind going there. I love it.
Well, speaking of confidence, I mean, Phallon, we're excited the fact that, you know, you're coming back stateside. I think that's really cool. You know, we love the opportunities that, you know, that young goalkeepers are getting overseas, and we encourage young goalkeepers to find playing time wherever they can in whatever league they can. But it does put a smile on our face when people do come back to the NWSL. We do think it's a strong league. We think there's great goalkeepers there. Obviously, you know, you're in a situation now when you come in July where I believe Sarah Boatti is going to be coming in as well too. Obviously, you know, considered in the last 10 years one of the greater goalkeepers in the world. So I'm sure that's going to be a really cool experience. I know she's there on a short-term loan. So, you know, they're really looking at you, you know, in regards to the future of that franchise. I want a lot of people to understand that, you know, that Phallon's not coming there just to be there, you know, but they're looking at, you're 24 years old. You got so much time.
You never know.
You never know.
Angel City needs goalkeepers.
There's tampering right there. Careful. Tampering.
Coach, I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh. If people want to follow this, you know, the last couple months over in France, and then obviously, you know, your new experience over at OL Reign, where's the best place on social media for people to connect with you?
Oh, so you can follow along at our Stade de Reims Instagram. That's the tag at Stade de Reims. Mostly there because the French television, you have to pay for it. pretty expensive and in euros. But other than that, we love any kind of support on social media. We'll take it wherever. But yeah, that's where you can find us.
What about you personally? We want to follow you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to do a personal plug, but like if you want to follow, if you want to follow me, it's just at Phallon, just my first name on Instagram.
Love it.
Yeah.
Make it easy. I mean, well, honestly, Phallon.
Ashante?
Yeah. no. But
No, that's what I say hello to, right? Ashante? I'm trying to speak my
that's
friend.
like nice to meet you.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, Phallon. As we wrap up right here, we're excited just to see, like I said, we had you on, a couple of years ago, and Saskia, I'm sure, can attest for this, just the growth that you've had, not just as as a player, but as a person too. I mean, I don't want to say you were kind of a little wet behind the ears when you first came on, but it's definitely a different energy, and we're really excited just the growth that you've had. I mean, what a cool experience. You grabbed onto the opportunity and now, making waves for yourself is big time. U.S. women's national team, you got to keep note of this pool. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we speak. And speaking of people who've been in that pool, at Saskia_Weber, follow her on all social media platforms.
Let's go Bruins.
Let's go Bruins. And are you rah-rah? We want that. We want Rutgers to move on to hopefully play you guys.
I would love nothing more than to see Rutgers at some point. They're in our bracket, obviously. I wish them luck, and I said I'll see you guys soon is what I told them. So.
And obviously, guys, contact at insidethe18media.com if you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. If you want to follow me and all my comedy stuff, look at that name right there. I'm not going to try to say it. Not going to say it right there. It gets too complicated. That's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.
Later. Phallon, awesome.